This is Scene Chat Tuesdays. As you can see, I'm joined today by my new co-host for this episode. It's Cal. Hello, Cal. How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm just going to give people a quick overview of essentially what we're doing here and whatnot. For anyone who's not listened to this before, it's usually just myself on here who's doing a bit of a, Scene Chat Tuesdays, talking about the music that we all know and love. But tonight I'm joined by Cal as a co-host, and we've got plenty to get through. Essentially, what we've got here is drafting a co-host. It won't be Cal every time. We'll have various co-hosts, whether they're a DJ, they're a promoter, or whether they are an MC, or even just sometimes even a raver in the scene, just to get their perspective on things. What we're going to be doing going forward is just getting them in, because sometimes you may think, bloody hell, he doesn't have to go on, or I'd love to hear another perspective, because, I know for a fact some of Cal's views are different to mine. I know some of the people's listeners' views are different to mine. So when we've got questions, when we've got topics of the week, it's always good to have that extra perspective in there as well. I do use it as a bit of a, what's the word? I think me and Cal had an hour talk yesterday as well. But I think I used it as a point of reference of like a talk sport, where you've got somebody who's sort of leading the subjects, which is myself, and we're talking through it, and then you've got your colour commentator as well, which is going to be Cal, who's going to put in his opinions and things like that, and I'm sure he's got questions as well to get through. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be reviewing some brand new music later in the show. I've got stuff from DVB, Naughty Boys. They've made a return as well.
That's good to see.
I know, definitely, and we'll talk about that in a second as well, because I've got a question on that. RYE, Dew, and Flex, and then we're going to be talking about the state of the scene right now, which I've created a bit of a topic of the week. We've got some questions from some new contributors and some regular listeners as well. Our main topic today is going to be about whether the bounce scene has become a bit frozen in time, which I'll get into in a second. But yeah, how are we doing, Cal? Are we good? Welcome to the show for the first time.
Nice one, mate. Yeah, good. Bit tired. As you know, I work nights, so
yep.
I've had to get up a bit early to do this, but looking forward to it, man.
No worries. I forced you out of bed for this as well. So,
yeah.
I do apologise. I appreciate you coming on. I really do, and I'm sure people would appreciate hearing your viewpoint on certain things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we'll get into that now. So, Cal knows the format. He's a what did I say? A long-time listener, first-time attendee. So he knows the format of the show. He knows what's going to be going down. And as well, going forward, there will be various other co-hosts and things like that. But today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking into the questions, topics, things like that. And to kick things off is my topic of the week. This is something that I wrote about online the other day, and I was getting various point of views on this. But obviously, writing something on and writing text on a social media is much different to sitting down and having a debate about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So the topic of the week is has the bounce scene, and again I'm going to use the bounce as a general term, because it could be the wider range of, say, hard house. It could be UK hardcore, could be suffering from a similar problem. But when you look back at the Northwest bounce scene, many of the biggest names and obviously the most recognisable faces and the most established headliners built their reputations between, I'm going to take a guess, 2000 to 2008. And then now it isn't about whether those artists obviously deserve the status. We know that they do in most cases.
Oh, yeah.
But the question is whether the scene's still creating opportunities for new people to reach that same level. It's a very boxed in scene, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My question is going to be is if a DJ came along tomorrow with, say, credible technical ability, a unique style, and something genuinely fresh to offer, could they realistically become, say, a defining face of the scene? Or likewise, could they, if a producer came along and they were releasing some groundbreaking music, and they were, say, maybe surpassing the the shackles of the scene, so to say. So they're getting commercial success. Do you think that the scene would embrace them, and would people struggle to break into that hierarchy? What do you think about
that? I think it's not even a double-edged sword of a response, really. It's multiple edges in it. It's like there's so many factors that contribute to success. You know, in the scene, there's obviously DJ wise, you've got to stand out, which is becoming more and more difficult as time goes on. You know, everyone's got access to the same music, and it's a lot easier to access. The equipment that we're using now, the stuff that you can do on it, stuff that, you know, how can I put it? So maybe, you know, when things started coming around and the new gear and stuff like that, and it'd take someone who was maybe a bit more established at the time a while to get to grips with all that, and it'd start affecting the way they play over time. Whereas now, the newer ones that are coming through are learning with it, so they're kind of not all, but I feel like a lot are coming in now with more ammo as such. You know, some of them use it, some of them don't. But I think if in some cases they have a bit of an advantage that way. But then, you know, in others, it's always going to come down to if your face fits or attitude, you know, personality, social media use. There's just so many different avenues that answer can go down to contribute to whether or not they can get there.
What about this then? If I asked you this, if I said, you know, he's a new guy, he's called Kevin, he's brand new, and Kevin is outstanding DJs, mixing's flawless, tune selection's fantastic. He even pulls out some unknown stuff where you're like, oh, this is good, but I don't know where to get it from, and like really sort of got his own unique style. He's likable as a person. His social media is genuinely authentic, but at the same time, it's attractive to promoters and things like that. Do you think somebody who's fresh in the year 2026 could break through to that headliner status?
Again, at times, and again, it depends. Like, I think the person that comes to mind straight away would be Hannah. In that regard. You know, she kind of popped up in lockdown, really put graft into the marketing and the social media side and the way she comes across and everything else on top of, you know, playing style and stuff like that. She's dead energetic. You know, she's a nice person. She's everything else that goes with it, and she's kind of, you know, you don't really see her anywhere other than the top of a flyer these days, do you? In the short time she's been around. Then
I'd agree.
On the other hand, there's 1,000 other DJs that have popped up since 2020, and you know, 90% of them haven't really got anywhere.
Well, what if I told you this then? I've made notes today, and I'm just going to get my note out quickly. And I've put, obviously, we've seen a handful of newer names make an impact over the years, say since 2010 as an example.
Yeah.
But I only had one example I could use who's an exception to the rule that actually broke through, and the name I've wrote down is Hannah Taylor.
Yeah.
So does that not speak volumes? Do you not think that the only person you could think of, the only person I could think of is the one and only?
And you know, it does speak volumes, but who's it speaking volumes for? Is it you know, has Hannah done everything right? Yeah, but then what is everyone else doing wrong? That's the other side of the question that comes to mind for me, really.
Mhm.
You know, I only really came back and got back involved in it, 2021, and I kind of, hovered around the bottom of the flyers for a while, and then kind of made my way up. And in the same amount of time as Hannah, I only find my way halfway up a flyer now. Main stage, regular, but that's about. For me now, I feel like that's about as far as I'm going to get. It's not, and that's not just down to one or two or anything in particular. It's obviously, I haven't put the social media side of it. I'm not massive on paper ticket selling. I'm dead set and no on. That probably affects things in regards to bookings. I've been a bit outspoken at times, and I think even sometimes you can be looked at a certain way by your associations.
No, I get that.
Which I've found a couple of times. But on the other hand, I'm quite happy with what I've done in the time. On the flip side of that, I've done some good bits. But with regards to really breaking through and getting there, Hannah is literally the only example. What that says about everyone else who's been at it, and because don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people putting in some serious work. So what is trying to pinpoint what they're not doing, or what's not being taken note of in the same way it is with others, I think is where the difference lies.
Okay, so I'm going to just put this one out there as well. If there's people listening here saying, you know what, I've been cracking away at this for X amount of years and you don't seem to get any progress, maybe do a case study on Hannah and see what did she do that I haven't, and what can you do to go forward. If you look at it and go, wait there, I've done everything I can, that's where the deeper question sort of lies in that. I know Hannah's, I'm going to, this might be, I don't know if it's right or not, but I don't think she's a producer. I know she puts stuff out.
I think she's getting more and more and more involved now.
Okay.
I know Mikey probably at the start was doing 99% of the work, but we use Mikey's studio for our Is What It Is mixes. We've been down there quite a bit, and I speak to him. I've known Mikey for 20 years. He'll have a conversation with us about how she's getting on, and she's getting, she's doing a lot more of the work herself.
I think it's fair to say though that she's made a name as a DJ, not as a
producer. 100%.
Okay, so and then I'm gonna ask this one to you as well, because this is why I'm asking if the scene is frozen in time. There's names much bigger than our scene, obviously. I'm thinking of, your Ben Nickies, Patrick Toppins, your Hannah Langs. They're playing bounce, hard house, hard style in some cases. And when you ask people in the scene, it's like they obviously go, yeah, but they're not bounce. So, it's almost like, I'm not saying it's gatekept, but it is in a sense where it's like, oh no, these people aren't part of what we do. They're bigger picture people. They're part of a bit in a bigger pond with bigger fish. But realistically, I don't see it in isolation. And I don't.
And I also look at the fact that, sorry to interrupt, but look at the fact that they when they are playing bounce, they're playing bounce from like 2002 and getting the reactions they're getting. Now, if someone in our scene's been playing them tunes for 20 years, what are they doing wrong? You see a lot of them. You see a lot of them playing like Blow Your Mind and House Some More, and like at festivals, massive festivals, and then you're thinking, well, there's people in our scene who've been playing them tunes for years upon years. So why aren't, you know what I mean? Why haven't they progressed the same way?
I'll be honest with you, I think I've seen Hannah Lang play Tony DeVille already. It doesn't get much more underground and raw and dirty and gritty than that. It's not like they're just playing the commercial.
Yeah.
Success. Like so these tunes are loved by a wider audience. It's just, what are they doing different to what we're doing? Is it to do with their marketing? It might be.
They're obviously playing other stuff as well, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? It's just the fact that they're incorporating what they probably see as the best bits of our scene into theirs, whereas for whatever reason we're not incorporating the best bits of other scenes to push ours forward. You know,
we're in a narrow-minded scene, mate, and we know that already, don't we? Yeah. So, that said, right, we've talked about, is it frozen in time? Like, we've sat there and analysed different aspects of it, and obviously there's going to be a wider picture to it. By the way, I love the Manic mug. Little plug there, eh? Yeah. But like, realistically, is this scene frozen in time?
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna throw like another direction. There's MCs who broke through since 2010, and a lot of them as well. Is it because of the video content taken over and things like that? Probably. Yeah. But if you do a ratio to DJs and producers who's broke through in comparison to, and when I say broke through, I mean really blown up to big numbers. Like, and I mean this with the utmost respect. Our mutual friend Easy, he in 2008, I think he was doing the early Dorsey. Maybe he wasn't even doing Dorsey Donk at that time. It was, but I first heard of him in about 2010, and he was just, to me, he was another MC he was good. Don't get me wrong, because for me he was always standout, and I don't mind saying he's probably my favorite MC. But he was always standout, but it was just like part of a group, and that was it. Over the years, he's come into his own, and arguably probably one of the biggest MCs on the scene.
100%. It's undeniable.
Truly broke through. I mean, there's other names that I can name off there as well, but it feels like if you're an MC, you can get that break in that way.
I think a lot of that comes down to, you know, and Easy didn't have an easy road of it. Do you know what I mean? He I think, you know, his men spoke to it on your podcast, and he said, you know, he had a hard time with it. You know, people weren't giving him the chance, and I think at that time, looking back at it now, really, that might have been more to do with the fact that the social media aspect of it wasn't there in order to stand out, and it was still probably gatekept by a few at the top that didn't really want someone elbowing the way in. Obviously, with Easy, you know, knowing him personally, you put a wall in front of him, he's just going to keep kicking it until it falls down.
He'd become undeniable, didn't he? Like, like you can hear that in his lyrics even.
Yeah, he's the best all rounder for me. All day, every day. But yeah, and I think with regards to what they've got now, the social media side of it, it's kind of created a situation where, like years ago, the older ones, they got, or the more time served MCs, they got all the bigger gigs. They got all the bigger wages, and they could kind of hold it at the top there. And then now these newer ones have started to come through, and they've got the social media presence, they've got the followers, they've got the videos, they're all friends with the same video creator, editor, and all that, blah, blah, blah. And they've kind of threw it on the toes of the older ones and said, right, if you want all this, you know, you're going to have to get on here now and start doing all this like we are. And it's kind of, they've kind of been able to almost surpass them in some way. Like you're not going to see, there's a lot of people on who were doing really well with the videos and stuff. I'll use Mikey C as an example. He's really putting graft in. He's getting wild views on videos, gaining followers day on day, but you're not going to see him on peer stage, are you?
Yeah, you don't see them climbing up the flyer as such.
Yeah. So it is. I don't know how long it'll take before. I don't think you'll call it a takeover, because the people at the top are always going to be at the top until they walk away from it. I think still, even with the MCs, but the MCs have got a lot more ways of, you know, biting on the ankles of the higher ups than DJs do.
You can physically call somebody out on a track to go, if you're not stepping up, I'm taking over type thing. And you hear that in lyrics.
And also, there's so many more ways, like you were saying about standing out and stuff like that. And DJ wise, everyone's got access to the same music, the same equipment. We're not, the same techniques as such. Whereas an MC, they've all got their own voice, which they can change as and when they please. There's 1,000 different ideas you can put into some content or a video that makes you stand out. There's just so many more ways that they can kind of make themselves look different.
Go on then. And what you've just said there, I'm going to come back at you as a producer, right? So as an example, you as an MC, you can come back and a big buzzword within the scene was grime MC, like all these grime MCs. That's what they're being referred to as, right? If somebody's obviously came along for the first time and tried that style of a bounce, and it's something new, and it's sort of been taken on, or you've done you might have some people who are more, I would call nursery rhyme MCs who've done really well for themselves, and or whatever it may be, right? But I've noticed with production, if you try something new and move out of the norm, like if you stop putting dinkies in your tracks, if you stop putting a typical donk sound and try some other different types of bass lines, or if you try and incorporate other genres into it, it gets rejected pretty quickly, right? And I'm not going to say it's from the ravers, because I put out music in the past where it's done really well in regards to like playing stuff like that being played, but it's the DJs in our scene who's not supporting it, because they're like, oh, I don't know if that'll work. They like to play it safe and play stuff that's donk and dinks, and I think that's what's holding back from producers and DJs breaking through, because they're too scared to play their own style. I think I was talking to you about it, but like the stuff that say Rob's making at the minute, Rob Kane, and like it's bold in comparison. It's no different to what every other producer does, but it's bold as in the BPM's much slower. The bass line's not a donk. It's more of, I would say more Scouse housey, and I really enjoy it. I'm at hearing other DJs play it. I'm not. So even the cream of the crop in our scene is producing music that's slightly different, but I'm not seeing DJs support it, unfortunately. So I think somebody's going to have to come through and force it. Which brings me to my sort of next point of, and we've had this conversation sort of offline as well. I had a bit of a realization. 2024 was like quite a pivotal year for myself, and I had to sort of recoup almost, because I'd maybe burnt some bridges with some promoters. I might have burnt and whatnot. No fault of my own. It's just probably decisions that I'd made that had sort of not worked out quite right for me. And without getting overly into it, I had to sort of rebuild and start from zero. And bear in mind, I've been going like 14 years at that point, so I had to sort of rebuild it, and it took a while to get gigs and stuff. But from that, I had about 6 months where I was like, what am I going to do? And then after that, I just thought to myself, I've got Manic Music with John. We push the music that we like. It's not liked by the bounce scene as a whole. So at that point, I just said to myself, you know what? I'm not really part of this scene. I'm parallel with the scene, but I'm not part of it. And if I want any sort of success as a producer, DJ, or whatever, I'm gonna have to do it off my own back. So putting a sound out that we like. If you listen to Manic stuff, it does sound a little bit different to what you would hear on, say, like a Bounce Heaven or other labels, because it's more what I like. Is it what's popular in the clubs? I can't confirm or deny because I don't know. That said, I'm in my sort of own lane doing my own thing. But again, I had the realization of if I still want to be an active DJ, I'm going to have to step into that scene and go, you know what? Because that's where the bookings come from in the Northwest. Everyone's connected. If you think of BTID, if you think of This Is Bounce, if you think of Corruption, Elation, all of these events, they're all within a tight-knit scene. So if I'm wanting to get on these nights, I still have to be part of and have my sort of foot in that area, which you know, it is, you know, you can create your own success when it comes to music, but it doesn't necessarily translate to bookings because you're not within the scene, which I would call, personally, I'm not speaking for myself, I would call it gate kept. So you just got to do what you can, I suppose, haven't you?
Yeah, I think you know, I've gone through. You know, I've had some, like I said before, I've had some good times with it. I've been on some good events. You know, I've played for This Is Bounce. I've done multiple main stages at Pure. I've done, you know, played the 051, which is massive. It's
bucket list, isn't it?
It's like, it's something that people are in this for 20, 30 years and don't get the chance to do. But then there's times where you think, well, why aren't they? They're not coming back. They're not asking me again, or like, you know, I've not really spoke publicly. You know, I was a Sopranos resident for 2 years. I've stepped away from that now. I've not made a big thing of it. I've just, you know, spoke to Cheese and just said, look, I haven't got the energy and time to put into it. For what
can I ask you something that maybe, and again, if you're not uncomfortable with this, I can cut it out. But do you fit? And I'll give my point of view as well. I don't really care what people think. Do you think in taking that residency it was a bit of a hindrance to other bookings?
Potentially. Yeah, possibly. And you know, let's have it right. You know, it's a very divisive subject, Sopranos at times. There's, you know, there was people who told me it was a bad idea. There was people who said, just do it if that's what you want to do. That, you know, it was something I had to find out for myself. It was, you know, I still got, you know, I was Sopranos resident when I got Somerset booking last year. I was, you know, I've been a regular with Howard at Elation, which is another thing I was going to get to. You know, when there's nothing else coming in, and you're thinking, well, why? And then there's someone who's booking you regular, and that you then start to think, well, is it more to do with personality and how well people know you as to why they're booking you? Because, like, I speak to Howard quite regular, and you know, we get on with friends, and he's happy with the job I do, whereas other promoters who I've worked for in the past,
there's no real relationship.
And then you kind of just fall off the roster there. You know, it's so difficult to navigate, and it's draining at times. You know, but yeah, I stepped away from there. Well, like I said, it's very difficult to.
If I've asked an uncomforting question there, I'll back up my point and double down, just so you know that I'm not being facetious or anything.
Yeah. To answer your question, though, I don't know, because I haven't spoke to people who maybe used to book me, didn't, or the reasons why. You know what I mean?
No, it's
and if I did, would they tell the truth on it? Who knows? You know.
Well, I was in a similar situation to you. I've insinuated it on these live streams before, but I'll tell the truth how it is, and I can only work off the facts that I've been given. So, like you say, whether people tell the truth or not, I don't know. As you know, obviously, I was a resident at Sanctuary from 20. I can't remember what year it was, but I left Sanctuary in Feb of 24. He just basically said, you know, we're freshening things up with a younger set of DJs and whatnot, and that's cool. Move on from there. But if you rewind back probably 12 months before that, I took that residency, and this is full transparency. I had promoters talk to me who I'm friends with in my area as well, who said, you know, like, we'd book you, but you know, you're doing the Sanctuary thing. I made the decision to take that Sanctuary gig and potentially lose that, so that's on my own back. I've got no one to blame but myself on that one. And that's when I said about burning bridges. I can hold my hands up and go, these people have spoke to me and said, listen, we don't want to book you if you're playing for Sanctuary on the Saturday and we've got an event in the same place on the Friday, or in and around the same place on the Friday. Like, what use is that if people are going to come and see you at the Sanctuary rather than come and see you there? So I understood their approach, and it was me who chose to go. You know what? Thanks for the offer for the booking, but I'm going to follow, because I grew up on Sanctuary, wanted to always be part of it, and obviously had an opportunity and took it. Once I got dropped from Sanctuary, the calls never came back for that, so I probably burnt my own toes with regards to, and burnt them bridges with them people and bookings, and rebuilding that. And that's why I said, if it's an uncomfortable question, I can cut it out.
No, it's not.
But I'll talk openly about my similar experience.
I don't think I don't know the answer to the question. Does it feel like it? Yeah. Undeniably. Because and I wasn't short of people telling me it had happened. But at the end of the day, it was something like it boiled down to the fact that they were putting the team together, and they'd asked me, Pricey and myself, a year or two before, and we said no. There was a lot going on in the scene at the time, as you know. I won't get too into that, but we made the decision not to. We were building the "it is what it is" thing up, and we'd kind of done it off our own backs, and we didn't really want to put that to anyone else's name, especially if it was going to be detrimental to ourselves. And then time went on, and there was more further conversations had, and it started to feel like maybe the right move because of other things that were going on in the scene, and it was an opportunity for us to work together, which we hadn't been given anywhere else. Like,
I get that.
So we took the plunge, and there was never an issue personally with myself and Sopranos, like the way things were done, or the way I was treated there. To be quite honest, it was spot on on a personal level. The issue I had with it was it just wasn't going the way that I wanted it to go. The idea was, we'd come on board, we'd get, there'd be studio time, videos, this, that, and the other. They were doing the kitchen sessions videos and things like that, and it was an opportunity to get onto them and kind of not use Sopranos, but have the brand.
That's why you take the residency, mate. It's not you're not using them. They're using your talent as promotional material. You're using their resources as an avenue to use your creativity. I get it.
And it just didn't materialize. If people look deep enough into it, they'll find out all the reasons. But it got to a point, and I was just like, look, it's not for me now. It's time for me to go. The door was left open, I was told, but once you step out of them doors, chances are that they're not. It's not off.
It's not.
They don't open again. But we did a few bits there. One of my favourite gigs, to be fair, that I've done. We did the Shops Maxime's Monroe's at Pure. And that was the first time I've ever played a full classic set, and it was one of my favourite sets I've ever done. Played the 051 through Sopranos, so that's something that I'll always think it was that for me
at that time period.
For me, that alone made me going there worthwhile. Even anything that I could call negative was well outweighed by the fact that I played the 051.
No, I get that. Definitely.
So there's swings and roundabouts. But like you say, now that I've stepped away, and I haven't publicly said anything about stepping away. I didn't feel a need to. It wasn't.
There's no need to make a song and dance about it.
Nah, there's not. And obviously, 99% of people won't even know that that's the case.
Yeah.
I was approached at Pear this year. I won't go into names and stuff like that, but someone had passed a comment, and I said to them, I've left Sops now. And the response was, "Oh, good." Like it's going to do me some sort of favors. And this was someone who'd promised me bookings in the past. So to me, potentially that was someone who's gone, right, I'm not touching him because he's on Sopranos. So
it's aligned with what you said in theory is right. You know what I mean?
So will a booking come in future? We'll see, and then we'll see that
Yeah,
who
I get it.
the shit talker was. So
Yeah.
it swings and roundabouts with all of it.
No, I get it. I get it. Well, that was a good introduction, a good topic of the week covered there. We haven't even got into the questions yet. So I'm glad. I like thinking of these topics of the week. I think it works as well, especially when there's two people on the call. Because I wouldn't have had your perspective, and obviously you wouldn't have had my perspective on that. So what we'll do is we'll jump into the question section.
Yeah,
so this is questions from listeners. If you're a listener and you're thinking, "Oh, this is fucking, this is top quality conversation," I wonder what they think about X, Y, or Z. Then listen, just send us an email. It is manicmusichq@hotmail.com. And ask any questions you want. It's an open floor, as you can probably tell in these conversations we're having. There's nothing really off limits when it comes to it. I'll discuss anything on a music level, absolutely, and I won't hold back on opinions as well. And hopefully, as will any other co-host who's on here, with the same as well. So we'll jump into these questions. I've got a couple. And then I've got a couple for yourself, Carl, as well.
Yeah, man.
So first question, and it's from Mark B. So Mark B, obviously, he's been releasing on Manic Music. Really loving his stuff. If you want to go and check his stuff out, it's Relentless Sounds. He did a tune called More Than Words Can Say, and honestly, proper shivers listening to that tune. It is. So, and it's actually in relation to what we're about to talk about, and it's what is it about trance-influenced bounce that makes certain parts of the bounce scene shun and dismiss things as they're too trancey and not proper bounce? Surely, bounce as a genre can have several categories like others do, e.g., have things like funky house, deep house, disco house, progressive house, etc. What makes bounce so different? So there's two parts to this question. Firstly, trance bounce as a thing. I don't really class it as anything. It's just a style that someone plays. I wouldn't really subgenre it. So that's the first thing. We've talked about this in the past, and I'll get your opinion in a second. But secondly, one thing that I don't know if anyone else thinks about it like this, but to me, the funky house scene is not the same as the deep house scene or the disco house scene. They are all sub scenes in themselves, because although you get sort of open format DJs who play a bit of everything. If you go to Ibiza, right, and you go to a Defected night, you're not going to hear, certain aspects of house. When I went there to my last Defected event, it was very deep house, and with a little flash of disco at the end. But other than that, you get what you go to. You go to Tool Room; it's quite a heavy tech house and deep. And then obviously think of all the other brands that there are out there. They've all got their own sort of stamp on it. So I would say it is quite segregated. Yeah. In answer to your trancy bounce thing, well, Carl, I'll let you take this one over first. Put your point of view in there, and then I'll answer.
Again, I think the phrase. I think we may have spoken of this before, but I think the phrase "trancy bounce" is a bit unnecessary. I don't think there's any real need to try and categorize it as such. If that's your style that you're making, there's nothing wrong with saying you make bounce music with a heavy influence of trancy elements. I think I think the first mistake is trying to label it as something that doesn't need labeling as. The reasons as to why it maybe doesn't do as well as they might want it to, I can't really speak on, because as you know, like Scouse House back in the day, it was there was trance tracks in there, there was the hard house in there. It was a big blend of everything. And people didn't go, like they were just bounce tunes with. It was all called Scouse House. But then as it's progressed, even from 2001 to 2010, there was bounce tunes that came around then that had massive trancy build-ups and breakdowns and stuff like that. No one called that trancy bounce, but that's what it was. I think now people are very keen to put a label on something, and I don't know if it's maybe, do they want to put a label on it so they can say, oh, if it was them that was really pushing the sound, and they kind of get that label stuck on it, is it oh, I created this subgenre, yeah. And whereas I think if you just if you're trying to sell to a bounce crowd and you're making this trancey bounce, just call it bounce, because the second you put a label on something, a lot of people are going to shun it just because it's not something they're familiar with. You know how close-minded the bounce scene and ravers are. If it's not a heavy donk, or if it's not got that big drop or familiar vocal, they instantly shy away from it. In the first instance, you know, it takes a lot to kind of push something new onto our scene.
I've heard the term, and it's only been in the last couple of years, the trancey bounce thing. But I want to say this. Obviously, you know my style. It is very trance and melodic influenced in what I play within that the category of bounce music. I remember, I'm going to say about, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago. I remember playing gigs and promoters referring to me, because it was slightly a different time. It was when the Pokey stuff was quite big, and sort of pre-bumping, and you had like people who played hard bounce. I remember hard bounce being like stuff like Wayne Johnston and Club Filler was the hard bounce DJs. But then you had like the people who played Pokey or Spanish, and it was like, I remember turning up to a gig in Accrington. It was, and what had happened was like, sorting the set times out, and it was, Brad, you don't mind going on the sort of 11 o'clock because you play vocal. It wasn't even like trancey bounce. It was you play vocal, and then it makes for the later DJs who were playing the more pokey stuff to be, they play at that time. So it was at that point, I wouldn't say sub labeled, but it was like, oh, you play vocal and the lighter stuff, and then they play Spanish, and it's you know, and that's where it was labeled as. I don't like the terminology when you start splitting things up into categories. Obviously, you can go as far back as the early 90s, when it was, you've got your hardcore and you've got your jungle, and at one point they were all playing together. Then you have the room splits, and it becomes, obviously you've got your happy hands in the air, fucking breakbeat hardcore. Then you've got the darker side of the jungle, and then as that's progressed, then you've got into like things like garage, and then you've got the UK hardcore thing, and you know where we're going from there. But with that, I don't want to see that split from with bounce. I referred to it the other day, and it's probably the politically incorrect term, as a sort of mongrel music, because it is. It's you've referred to it just then, in the 2000s, when you put a Pia CD on, or if you listen to the latest Maxime's CD, or Pleasure Rooms, or 051, it wasn't like, it was Scouse House, and it was, you know, it might be a Eurodance track, it might be a trance track, it might be something hard house, it might be something really obscure. Sometimes you hear really obscure records. It was quite tribal, and it was all just Scouse House in a. It was the little bits of everything to make a new breed dog, and that's what it was, just mongrel bounce, mongrel sounds, and that sort of died down when the novelty of having a donk in a track sort of come along, and like, oh well, look at the reaction this gets when you mix this in. You know, you use a donk.
I was gonna say that it's like when you know, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, you know, like 4 Strings, Take Me Away. I'm sure there was a time, obviously, before the donked up version came along, they'd be playing the original, and it'd be getting a good reaction. But then people have cottoned on to the fact that I'm getting big fucking reactions when a big donk drop comes in. So they've just mixed the two together and gone, right, I'm gonna do 4 Strings, Take Me Away, and put a big fucking donk drop in it, and away it went, you know. And then that's probably as trancey bounce as you're ever gonna get. And it was around then, and they didn't label it. It was still Scouse House, and for years.
Mm-hmm.
And,
No, I got it.
I think people. I think at the time, though, obviously the Scouse House label come around, the name that was, the term that was phrased, and once that kind of became a thing, everyone just wanted to push that. So all these different styles were coming in and just getting piled into that, and letting that snowball. Whereas now I feel like it's a big snowball, and everyone wants to fucking pick a little bit off it and make it theirs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's this is what I don't like. Obviously, if you listen to Manic Sessions, which is the radio show I do sort of last Friday every month, I'm not just plugging it here, but I just thought it's worth a plug. Is if you listen to it, like I played stuff by a lad called Dan Harrison, a trance producer. It was a remix of can't remember, was it Lange? I think maybe Drifting Away it was.
Oh yeah.
And it's a pure trance track, but to me, it's what I'd have heard in the early 2000s in a nightclub that would be regarded as Scouse House, and it's tough, got that kick drum, and it just worked. I played a tune by a lad called Matty Ralph in the same show, and I'm just like, all of this to me, Scouse House, and I will continue playing this. And do you know what? If you play it in a nightclub, and I'll tell you who's a really good example of this, Dave Gray, General Bounce.
Yeah.
He could turn up to a bounce gig, and he could play, the latest bounce stuff that he's playing, but then he'll pull out something that's a bit hard dancey, and guess what? People are still dancing.
Yeah.
But it's the DJs not supporting it, and I'll stand out and say, listen, it is the DJs not supporting being a bit experimental and playing it too safe. If I turn up to a gig now, if the vibe's right, I'll pull out a trance track. Will people like it? We don't know. And me and John always have this argument / discussion of and I wouldn't call it an argument, but it's an argument between we both agree and we both disagree on the same thing. So I wouldn't call it an argument, but it's like we want to make music that's just great music, and like if you hear John's sets, you'll hear him play a bit of Italian, a bit of trance, a bit of everything, and we want to incorporate these sounds into it. And we always find when we get to in a project, it's like, if people are going to play this, do we need to put more of a donk in it? And it's like, you just. I think we're both there, head in our hands sometimes. Just like, for this to be accepted anywhere and played anywhere in the Northwest, it's going to have that donk.
Yeah.
Which is it's just sad and unfortunate, really.
Yeah.
It really is. But in answer to your question, Mark, Trancy Bounce, speculation. This is me speaking, not on behalf of Mark or not on behalf of Carl. This is me speaking. It sounds like you're referring to Bounce Heaven Digital with some of the stuff that they're sort of turning away and the stuff that they're releasing. They maybe just wanted to play and release one style, which is cool. It's not necessarily the style that I like. I find maybe buy every 3 months I might buy, say, 3 tracks off that site. Not a lot of it's for me. It's a bit different to what I like, but there's obviously an audience there buying it, and I'm assuming they're probably not buying the trancy stuff off there because it's not the right audience. We released the more trancy stuff, like yourself, Carl, releasing Digital Lover, which we'll get in a second. I think that's got a lot of trance elements to it with regards to like melodies and chords and breakdowns, rather than the simple stripped back stuff you would hear on Bounce Heaven. Same goes for More Than Words Can Say from Relentless Sounds. Yeah. Same goes for anything that Nick Hughes put out. It's all big euphoric stuff. Would that stuff sell on Bounce Heaven? I'd say probably not as well, and that's probably why they're not accepting it. That's me just speculating there entirely, but that's where we are.
Yeah.
I have got a couple more questions. I'll try not to keep it any much longer, if that's all right.
Yeah, it's all right.
I have a question from another mutual friend, Dom Merter, and he's asking. Carl, yeah, don't spoil the surprise, because when he comes back on here and he's co-hosting, right, he's gonna have the Carl Pilkington head on the artwork. He's a funny guy.
He is.
He's put, if Bounce and Hard House had never existed, do you think you would still have become a DJ, or would it simply have just been someone who enjoys the music as a listener, perhaps following things like bands and things like that instead? So, Carl, I'll ask you first. What do you think?
Probably, only because we spoke on it on our first podcast. Mm-hmm. So I got into the bounce stuff as a raver for years, and then by the time I'd started putting time and effort into DJing.
Mhm.
You know, further than just having a mess about on decks in the kitchen when there's a party on.
Mhm.
I was playing like Jacking House. That was
Okay.
that was the scene that was kind of popping at the time when I first really got into it.
Mhm.
Um, would that scene still be around if bounce didn't kind of have the resurgence that it did? I don't know.
Mhm.
But you know, I played a lot of the lad that I did a lot of my learning from. He was into all the, you know, like the progressive house and the minimal stuff. Like
Mhm.
he was a big John Digweed fan, so like
Mhm.
that sort of music I was playing quite a lot of just because I had access to them tunes. So I'd have probably ended up going down more of a house route. Um, Pre 2010, I was into the hardcore. So
Mhm.
there's a potential that maybe I'd gone into playing that. I don't know, but I think the enjoyment that I've always got from, you know, DJing, I'd have to say, yeah, I probably would. Where I'd be and what scene I was in, I can't answer.
Mhm.
But I think bounce. I think I just naturally leaned into the bounce thing just because of how much I loved it as a raver back in the day. And then
Mhm.
when I seen it start, you know, having a bit of a resurgence, that's what I leaned straight into that because I thought this is the music that I love. I'd already had quite a big collection of music
Mhm.
that I'd gathered over the years when it was kind of dead. You know,
Mhm.
I went and I got all them tunes from back in the day that I used to love listening to. You know, in like Medicine and Peer and you know all of them Pleasure Room stuff. And
Mhm.
so when it kind of come back around, I was in the swing of it. If you know what I mean, I still loved it, and
Yeah.
it kind of just took off from there. But in answer to his question, I think I'd still be DJing. At what level and what scene, I don't know.
Mhm. Let's strip it back a little bit then. If you were to go, if you let's say you did make that, you had that little niggle in 2021 of like, you know what, I'm gonna get into the DJing again. Was there ever a thought of, should I do maybe a bit of house music, or another genre?
Oh
What
well,
was the thought there?
I didn't do a bit of house music, but I was always playing it. I played a lot of house music at home
Right.
and in you know in parties and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You know, early doors in a house party, you're not just going to go straight in and start levering fucking 155 donks out. And
Mhm.
you'd always start off playing house music, and then just as the party progressed, it just got faster and harder. But
Mhm.
so yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
No worries. From my perspective, I still would be 100% a DJ. I don't think there's any question about it.
Mm,
For me, if there was no bounce or hard house, a lot of my first love come from like obviously the Italian old school scene and trance. Even if that didn't exist, I fell in love with house music as well. I was talking to Dom about this on another occasion. I didn't. I liked house music as just background music, and I didn't take it really seriously. Where you go, oh my god, this is fucking wow.
yeah,
Until I went to Ibiza last year, and once you experience it in context of how it should be, not just down at your local bar being played, and it's, you know, sort of
yeah,
backgroundy music. When there's a focal point of seeing the best in the game play the best selections with a proper sound system, a proper light rig, and you're just like,
yeah.
yeah, this shit's good. And honestly, I love it. So
We went to one. I've been to a few. You know, of the bigger ones here, the warehouse ones.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like we went to Sunny Federa a couple of years
Hmm.
back, and like that was Blackstone Warehouse,
Hmm.
and it was mega. You know,
Hmm.
it was a different vibe to what you'd get from listening to it in the house.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's very bass heavy and
Hmm.
like with on a massive sound system. It just it does. I hate the word hits different, but it does.
it invokes two different types of emotions when you listen to bounce music. Even if it's euphoric, even if it's hard, it's that fast pace of like
energy in it.
energy. Whereas some house music, you listen to it and it's just fucking a groove. You don't need to be pushing. And it's two different vibes. It's like comparing a main meal against a dessert. It's two different things. You know, you can't say a fucking a lemon drizzle cake's the same as having a Sunday dinner. It's just two different things in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, in answer to your question, Dom, I'd probably still be a DJ. Playing what music, I don't know. Even if you took away the DJ aspect of it, I always saw myself in like maybe being in a band or something like that. Anyways, like in some sort of, I like music in general, so it's in some format probably would have done that. So yeah, and what other questions have we got? I'm going to leave a couple of the questions out. I do apologise. Just conscious of time. And I'm just going to ask yourself some questions. We'll kick things off with, and again, this is to push. And even though I don't know what your answer is going to be, but in regards to pushing the scene forward as a whole, it doesn't need to be necessarily me pushing myself or my people, but I like pushing the scene as a collective because it's a music I enjoy. We all try to sort of uplift it together, even if at times it just seems a bit split and segregated. So I'm going to ask you this: in the year of 2026, right? And I know you do your vocal mixes, or they have been on hiatus. I know that, but what producers, other than maybe the obvious ones, of music have you been supporting in 2026?
Probably Ryan's, RYE. He sends me all his stuff, and I always get some use out of that. Nick Hughes is a big one. Yourself and John with the Manic stuff. I play a lot of that. I've played a couple of Flex's bits. What else?
I tell you, it's worth a shout. Who I've heard you play on the vocal mixes, Dirty Donk DJs.
Oh yeah, 100%. Sad. I do apologise. They've been great. The pair of them, Stoker in particular, not because he does more music wise, but I have more contact with him. He's constantly in my inbox. He's like, I've done this, and I've got access to their Dropbox, so I can just go in there and just see what they've done. He'll always message me to say we've done this, and I play an awful lot of their stuff. You know, they've got the bootleg game nailed down. They're just the ideas they pick out and the way they do them.
They're quick on the mark as well. I see.
They're on the ball with it. Like
I'm what's the word? I'm probably a bit autistic, but I like every Fresh Friday thing on Spotify. I always listen to like what's new, whether it's like pop, whether it's fucking house music or commercial house, and any track that I hear on there where I think,
this would do well.
Yeah, this would do well. You guarantee within a couple of days that they've got like a bootleg of it out, which is fucking, to be that sharp, pretty good. Because I can hold my hands in the air and say, listen, I can't be that efficient. For me to be able to do a track and be happy to sort of put it out, it's probably a 2-week process. So I'm not quick enough to get on them bootlegs. But straight away you hear their stuff and you're like, oh, that's quite good. That
they did. I think that the two biggest ones that stand out to me are they did Kimmick Party Girl. That was a belter, and what was the other one? That Fantasy Is Gone. So it's Let Me Be Your Fantasy instrumental with the Love Is Gone vocal over it. It's really good.
I remember hearing the Kimmick thing when it first came out on that Friday, and I was like, oh, this has got potential to, it might sound good in the sort of bounce context. Next minute I see I think it was a video that had went up, and I was like, hey, fucking sharp these boys.
I've played it a few times in the clubs, and it goes off like it's brilliant.
Yeah. Anyone else that you can think of off the top of your head?
Myself and Glover, I like the Big Peg stuff. I try to incorporate into my sets and mixes. I'm on the spot now because literally there's
There'll be
so
someone
many,
you forget, and
yeah,
it's
there
fine.
is, and there's so many good lads that you know. I'm very lucky in the sense that everyone just sends me their tunes.
Yeah.
You know, that'll probably, when they realise they're not going on them vocal mixes anymore because I've stopped doing them, it'll probably slow down a bit, you know. But I've always got something lined up mix wise, so it's always good to I've just got a massive folder on my phone of just stuff that gets sent. So when it's time to do a mix, I just go in the folder and see what's there and pull bits out. It's always full. It's always getting topped up. So I'm lucky in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. I've got two more questions for you before we finish off. So one of them being, if you were 18 years old today, no contacts, no following, no reputation, how would you break into the bounce scene in 2026?
Oh, I'd probably just knock on the door, and if no one answered, just walk off.
Would you know, like,
I don't know. I think upon the realization of what needed, 18 years old. Oh yes, sorry. To be fair, I'd probably get right into it. You know, because I'd have the time and the energy, and no kids, and no you know, responsible job, no bills. So like, it wouldn't be too much of an issue paying for, I don't know, video editing, or you could go as far as, even if, you know, if I wasn't you know, able to produce, not that I can produce on my own, as you know, but if I didn't know how to formulate a track, or didn't know as much about music as I did, I'd be able, you know what, I wouldn't have the responsibilities elsewhere to be able to throw 100 quid, 150 quid at someone to just have exclusive tracks for myself or whatever. And so I'd probably, at the time, if I had the same love that I did at 18 for it all, I'd probably put everything into it.
So I understand where you're coming from, what you're saying. So let's strip that back. You're 18. You've got yourself a set of decks. What are you doing first thing?
Just enjoying it, just playing all the time, recording mix after mix and putting them out on SoundCloud, and probably not to the extent that you see some people doing it, but I would make sure I was consistently putting out decent stuff to try and get noticed. And obviously, with this, if I was 18 this day and age, I'd you know, be all over social media, probably be doing stupid videos, and you know, to get attention, and then just throwing a link to my new mix in the comments or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Just stuff like that.
Yeah. So your approach would be essentially, you know, essentially like a vocal thing, a monthly thing, putting new tunes out, developing your style, and then from there, once you're in a comfortable position, obviously you're releasing those CDs. How are you approaching promoters? Are you going to the club nights and introducing yourself? What does it look like?
Yeah, I'd probably be out a lot more than I am now. I'm very rarely out these days, but yeah, I would be. You know, I'd be at events. I'd be enjoying them, and I'd probably be getting, because I'm quite a personable person. I get along with everyone, so I'd probably end up, you know, friends with people that could probably help me get where I needed to be. Or
no, I get that.
But like, obviously, as you get older, it just becomes increasingly difficult to do that, doesn't it?
No, I get that. And then I'm going to finish off with, I'm conscious of time for you. I'm going to finish off with one question here, and I want one answer from you. There's no this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Is, over the last 12 months, what's been the sort of the killer track in your box, and why?
So I'm just one.
Yeah, just one. I just want one. I'll put you on the spot here because we talked about it prior.
Yeah.
Give me a few.
Yeah, so I'll go. I'll go Digital Lover. I think, just because it's recent, it's fresh on my mind. We've just put it out, and it's recently just got. You know, we've received some footage of it getting played at Bowlers the other week, and the reaction it's got. I've played it. I've been playing it for over 12 months.
Yeah.
You know, just testing the water with it, making, you know, and it's been a bit bizarre really, because it's an old hardcore vocal that I've had resung. Lee has resung it, and it seems to feel familiar to people, even though even the younger lot seem to kind of know what it is. I don't know if it. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
But that seems to be doing the. It just seems to be getting the most all-round reaction. I've obviously got tunes that'll get a bigger reaction from a certain demographic of people, but like the young ones might like some of the harder stuff with the bigger drops, and then if I play something that's got a really old vocal in it, the older lot will love it. But this seems to have just brought everyone onto it, if you know what I mean.
No, totally get it.
So yeah, the Digital Lover's probably the biggest one at the minute.
No, that's nice. So again, I swear to God that wasn't to get into a plug, but we're going to plug it anyways. Digital Lover is out now. It's Cal and Leah, and it's out now on Manic Music. You can go and stream that. I'll put a link in the comments as well, so you can go and have a listen to that. It is quality. I've went on record to say, and I've talked to you about it. This is for me record of the year so far. I think there is one or two that I've also enjoyed. That's fighting for that second place, but I think this has been my favourite this year.
Yeah, I will have to. I'm gonna give Jazz a nod. If you don't mind, because obviously he gave us a lot of help with the track. You know, I can put bits of tunes together, but to get something to the quality that it has to be, you know, worth playing, you have to get help with the experience from other people. And Jazz is someone I've worked with before. I know he likes his hardcore. Leah gets on with him, and when we put the idea to him, we got the vocal done. I sent her in to sing another track, and she'd come out and she'd done that as well, because that was another idea that we'd been speaking about. So we sent Jazz the idea, told him everything that I wanted it to be. That it had to be a little bit faster, because with it being the hardcore track, we wanted to keep that energy in it. We wanted similarities in the riff with the hardcore one, you know, but kind of tone it down a little bit for the bounce scene. And it needed to be a really recognizable bounce sound. We went back and two for weeks to get it right, and it's come back and it's just absolutely bang on. So, you know, shout to Jazz for that. You know, really appreciate the help he's give us with it.
Nice. That's quality, and it sort of finishes us off for today pretty nicely. So, Carl, I just want to say thank you for coming on.
Worries,
it's been a pleasure. And you know something? A little peek behind the curtain. We had a conversation yesterday for a good hour, and I was saying, oh, you know, this should have been sort of, you know, good quality conversation we had there, and then now we're having this conversation. I feel like we've went a bit deeper, and I think it's probably been I've enjoyed it, and I hope people at home have enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, if you are still tuned in at this point, I am going to be referring over to the track reviews, which I'm going to be doing in due course. What I'm going to do, I'm going to say goodbye to Carl for now, and we'll do the track reviews. So I'm going to switch cameras, and I'll be with you in a second.
So yeah, it's time to listen to some of your records that you've been sending in. I really enjoyed that conversation with Carl. I think it was quality, some really good insights there. And to be honest with you, the conversations I have with people, whether it's on the phone or behind closed doors, it's very much exactly the same as that. So that was a truly authentic, behind the curtain almost, for everyone there. So hope you really enjoyed it. We're going to kick things off with the listening of tracks this week and reviews. The first one this week is from my mate Dom. It's DVB Productions, and the track's entitled Anthem. Let's take a listen to this.
You know the pace, I don't slow. Hands on the rail, eyes on me. Watch that. make the whole room follow me. Keep it rude, keep it right, kick them doubts out the light. Fresh white tee, fresh baseline, everybody move tonight. Yeah, it's building now, feel that swing come down. Hold that ground, let it shake right now. This is garage, this ain't house. This ain't drum and bass, this is bounce. This is garage, this ain't house. This ain't drum and bass, this is bounce. D to the B to the B. Say it back, put it on repeat. Yeah, D to the B to the B.
Fucking right. This is amazing.
Baseline talk in the back, got the whole place under attack. Not too clean, not too neat, just that grip under your feet. Skank your left, skank your right, short, sharp, bend, long night. Everybody got a little twist, every drop got a new hit list. Pull the front to the side, everybody catch that ride. If you came for the usual sound, better leave when the bounce comes round. Locking in, watch the walls give in. Say it loud, we're going again. This is garage, this ain't house. This ain't talking, say it back, put it on the. B to the B to the B. Say it back, put it on repeat. Yeah. B to the B to the B. Tell the room it's 1, 2, 3.
Right. I just want to a quick one on this one. This is the standard we should be working at, everyone. Fucking quality, right? And when I say it's a standard we should be working at, right? 1, quality bounce tune. 2, extremely creative. 3, this is an AI vocal. I believe, I could be wrong, but I'm sure it's an AI vocal that's been used there. That doesn't sound like every other generic AI vocal. There's obviously some thought that's went into the prompt to create that. I love the mashup of the get up and dance melody and riff and the this ain't garage, this ain't house. It's No Reason that they did, and I love that. This is the best work I've heard in a while from DVB, and I mean they're consistent. It's fun, and the mix down is crisp. Like that kick and bass, percussion, everything's just in the right place, and this is the standard we need to be working at, everyone, with regards to creativity, with regards to production level as well. This is something to be sort of really proud of as a scene. Really enjoyed that. Nice one for sending that in. I will be playing this out, guaranteed. In the right place, that will fully go off. Thanks for sending that in, Dom. Next track we have. Oh, I'm excited about this one. Returning artist to the scene, Naughty Boys. If you know the history of the Naughty Boys, obviously you'll know there's some anthems in their back catalogue. They returned recently, I'm going to say as recent as a couple of months ago, and started knocking tunes and that out again. I have heard a couple of bits that Dean had sent over, and it's very Naughty Boys. I'm gonna give. I don't want to say criticism, and I don't want to say it's praise either. It's somewhere in the middle. I like and I love the when I heard the track, I was fully expecting it to be like, oh, I've come back and it sounds like a modern bounce tune and whatnot, and it's come back and it sounds like where Naughty Boys had left off with the sound and the signature sounds used. I really love that. That said, I'm looking forward to where it goes in the future, because obviously that sounds of a time period, but I noticed in some of the productions in the production mix that he sent over had little nuances that sounded modern. So for instance, there was like a dinky riff that was playing, but underneath there was like a layer that was almost not Big Room-esque or Melbourne-esque, but there was like it was that sort of sound, if you know what I'm talking about. And I was like, oh, this is a good evolution in the sound. So I'm gonna listen to this track here. I can't remember which one it is. It's only a sample I've got of it as well, because I haven't got the full thing yet. Dean only sent over the production mix, and I pulled a sample from it. So this one is, I believe, is it Something by Lasgo, and it's a Naughty Boys remix. Let me know what you think of this. So I pulled this sample off the preview that was put up, and I purposely done this because we know what sort of like a Naughty Boys track sounds like, and I mean I'm sort of pushing you to go and listen to the production mix as well. But this has two elements for me. I don't know if this was purposeful or if this is just a nice little comparison and sort of transition. But if you listen to the beginning of that riff that's in there, that's key signature sound Naughty Boys, and you know, if people love that sound, they're going to be buzzing that they're back. But that second part there with a little bit of a donk drop, it sounds a bit it's a bit hard for me personally, but again that's subjective. But having like the sound here, I'm going to play it there. This riff here, that sound, it's almost like it's Naughty Boys-esque, but it sounds more modern, and hopefully that's like a purposeful transition there. I know it sounds like maybe I'm waffling, but I'm just maybe overanalyzing music or whatnot, but you go from that riff, which is, you know, signature Naughty Boys, to that more modern, newer thing. It's a nice introduction, I think, into an insight into what that looks like. I'm looking forward to what Naughty Boys bring to the table over the coming months, and I'm sure we'll be reviewing more of those tracks as and when they're released. But yeah, thank you for Dean for sending that in. We have a new one from Flex. Flex has told me that this is his first original, so let's take a listen to this. This is a blind listen as well. 2 seconds. Nice percussion there. Bassline's heavy. That riser sounds like KB Project. This one, Flex, I think this is probably some of your best work musically. I think, you know, no issues with that musically at all. I think it's decent. The melodies, the chord progression, things like that. I wasn't too keen on the vocal, but again, preference. The chorus is much better than the verses. Like there's a certain husk in the verses that it's just not hitting the spot for me, but the chorus is actually all right. First original, I like it. There's some bits in there that's really good. I like the little riff in the middle. I think that worked pretty well. I think the drop with the vocal chops wasn't really for me. I think could have done a bit more with the vocal chops. It just seemed a little bit repetitive. But again, I'd probably maybe do some effects or something like that. Like at the end of every sort of phrase, you could have like a reverse delay or something to add a little bit more spice, or a little like if you with the notes that follow the vocal pattern, you could do a sound to follow it as well, so you like a call and response almost. I think that would make it more interesting. There was two things in there where it was, to me, obviously I'm assuming, and again please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming it quite heavily inspired by KB Project and Kenny Hayes. That huge noticeable riser sounded very KB Project, and the acid stab on the offbeat. Wait there, I'll just see if I can find it. I'm sure it's about here. Yes, here. Because it even sounds like the chord progression that KB would use in a track in that bass style, if you know what I mean. But yeah, not a bad track, that one. It's not bad. I think it's your best work yet. Some of the transition stuff, when you go from you got 16 bars of drums, and you got 16 bars of your drums and your bass building up to the breakdown. I think that transition from the beats and the bass into the breakdown could flow a little bit smoother. It seems almost instant. You go from your kicks and your donks, and it goes straight into that deep sub bass. I think you could filter that in maybe just so it feels a bit smoother rather than instantaneous. It's almost like when you're on a TikTok and you scroll to the next TikTok and it's like from one extreme to another. That's the vibe that I got on it. If you know what I mean. And then we've got one more track, and it's from the RYE, Ryan Neal, and it's All Out Attack it's called. Let's take a listen to this, blind listen. Right, thank you for sending that in, Rai. A couple of things. This for me needs a little bit of work. I'm gonna tell you where. At first, I thought it was the chord progression. I'm pretty sure it's the donk sample as well. So I'm gonna just show you this now of what I mean, because you've got a lovely that kick drum there is just punching nicely. When you bring the bass in, that bass is a little too low for where you go next. Listen. So if you can hear what I mean in that chord progression, I'm just going to rewind that a little bit. So with this, firstly, I think that I don't know whether it's the sampler or the sample you're using. It sounds like it's really stretched to almost to unusable. It sounds really low on that bass note, the bass note of your progression. And it doesn't sound. I'd replace that almost like that. That would be an instant replacement there. And then obviously with the chord progression, I'd review your chord progression. I know you go 1 6, 1 5 6, I think it is, on the chord progression, and you go 1, then you go up and then up. And the higher it goes, the less I like the sample. Try if you I don't know what key it's in, but if you were to let me see, how can I word this? If you were to play your root note, and if you get that bass sounding good, then shuffle around octaves on the bass note, because it sounds like it goes too high. Try, if you're doing a 1-5-6 progression, try and drop the sixth chord, so your last chord in the progression, down an octave to see if it sounds any better, because it sounds like it goes from real low sub to sort of mid-range, so you'd lose a lot of the energy of that there. So there's that. Musically, I think you're onto a good idea. I think this here, I like this here. I like the feeling of it, it's different, and then the little that's good. I think the levels, and I noticed this with, I think, the last track you sent in as well. You a lot of your high frequency range stuff is really loud in comparison to the rest of the track. I think when I heard the riff come in here, this bit here, I thought it sounded really thin, but this could be improved. Yeah, that could be improved with volume adjustments. If you worked on your mix down a little bit, it would sit in the mix a little bit better, and could do with some stereo widening as well. So if you add another layer underneath it just to give it some width, or if you use some tooling to add some stereo width to the sound itself. I like this bit. Once the levels are sorted out on that'll sound lovely. It's got a nice, obviously the pad underneath, and it's quite moody in the mixer. It's a good idea. And then the last part of the track with this riff here, again with the mix down, just some work on the mix down and some stereo width to that lead. I think you're onto a winner with that. I just want to say, I'm not saying anything to discourage anybody, or if you want to obviously send your music in to be reviewed and whatnot, I'll listen to it and I'll give you honest feedback. These are not criticisms. These are I'm trying to help you. And again, even if I review one of your tracks and you want to message me saying, for more detail, absolutely go for it, and I'll give you what I can. Because people send in good ideas, they just need a little bit of tweaking to become a great idea, and a great production. I don't think I'm shitting on anyone when I do it, because again, we're all like anyone can criticize my music. Just go and log onto my SoundCloud and just fucking comment and say this is shit, whatever. If you want to criticize it. But I try and be open and honest, because, like I say, once every producer just irons out some of the common mistakes that they make, or mistakes in the tracks. We all move up together. It's all about growing as a scene and evolving as a scene. A good example of Rye here, as an example. He's made a tune there that I've not heard that style of a tune in a while. It sounds a little bit moody, and it's got like an atmosphere to it. I like it because no one else is doing that. A good mix down, that could be a good track. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely. So that's your feedback for that, right? Hopefully, I hope it comes across as constructive. I'm not insulting in any way, I promise. But yeah, that's all for this week we've got time for. I do apologise, I'm just conscious of time. So if you have enjoyed this, then let me know. Drop a comment, and just to say any feedback. Like, I enjoy doing these, even if there's no feedback left, I'll continue doing them. I enjoy sitting going through music. I enjoy debating the music. I like putting observations out there and things like that, so I really enjoy it. But if you have enjoyed it, just let me know, and I'll see you again next week. Have a nice week.